Good morning, actually afternoon here, getting on evening. Happy 4th of July. Uh, I lived in the United States. This is going to be quick because I don't want to make it long. This is a different topic, but I lived in the United States for like over 20 years. And I have all my best friends in there and stuff. And I just think more than anything, all I can say is you guys deserve better. Okay? You guys deserve better in every single way. You guys really, like, we don't get taxed that much more and you just get so much more. Your government screws you over and you need a better government and you need to get that in place because you deserve better. Okay? Love you people. Okay, now, or at least 50% of you for sure. Anyways, so this is going to be about consciousness. This is going to be my little bloop about consciousness because everyone's got an opinion lately. And as someone who has done ridiculous amounts of hallucinogens in my life, so, like, seriously, I don't do them so much anymore, but I, still once in a while. But like literally one summer, I did LSD every single day for a month practically. I would do 3 hits, then 4 hits, and this is like quality. These were like quality blue microdots, almost for sure 250 micrograms per, at least 200, but I think they were 250 is what I was told. Anyways, so it would be like 3 hits, 4 hits, 5 hits, take a day off. 3 hits, 4 hits, 5 days, take a day off because I'm still kind of tripping and my body's recovering, and I just went like that the whole summer for a whole month. And even so, you know what I know is you always come back down. And that's why it's like there's a common physical reality. If I take a box, right? If I take a box and I put whatever I want in the box, and then I close up the box and I hand it to anybody. Now, maybe I'm hallucinating this entire everything and you guys all don't exist. As soon as you go into solipsism, it's pointless. It's pointless because actually all of you don't exist. I'm the only thing that exists, right? I imagined it all. Or you imagined it all. It gets you nowhere. It's really like, I consider it just like the laziest stoner, and I'm a stoner, but like the laziest stoner thinking, Solipsism doesn't get you anywhere. If I put something in this box, I can hand it to anybody, and they will open it, and they will tell me what they see, and maybe they will describe it differently. Maybe they will feel different things about what is in the box. But what is in the box is what is in the box, because physical reality is physical reality. And if you walk off a building, you fall. You get hit in the head with a 2x4, it hurts. Unless you're wearing a really, really good helmet, like that bear guy. So that's my thing about like the essentials of that. So instead, the way I think about it is like total formlessness. So let's get away from the solipsism. And instead, I want to talk about how you create consciousness. How do you create it? Like, is everything just like formlessness is conscious? I don't think this is the case. Formlessless. Because I think to be conscious is a very particular thing. I think that what is essential to consciousness instead is homeostasis. That only structures, processes, complexes that want, and I use the word want because this is the essential thing about homeostasis, right? It's maintaining a condition, persistence. Is it persisting? Right? Homeostasis. Because what is required for homeostasis is that this complex somehow has a sense of self, that it knows when it's homeostatic and when it's not, and it interferes. Like, you're a person, you eat, you're a bird, you're hungry, you fix it, because there's sort of the sense somehow, and even if it's illusory, because as you correct, you're always missing the mark. You're always aiming for a thing that you will never hit. But there's a range of functionality, of persistence. If you can maintain these conditions, you persist. Now, how do you maintain these conditions? If you get knocked, if you get affected, you notice and you respond. You have agency. This is one of the essential things. You're hungry, you go hunt for something to stuff in your face. You know, it might be poisonous, but I mean, you know, like you're still responding essentially to this going away from homeostasis, right? It's this persistence thing and maintaining a persistence through agency. Now, is a river conscious? I don't know. That's a big thing. Is a planet conscious? See, all of a sudden, if you go planet scale, there's certain scales that work and certain scales that sort of like don't quite work. And they're more like systems within this thing, the same way that we have organs that maintain us and this and that. Now, in my opinion, the essential, the fundamental unit of consciousness is the proton-electron complex. And I say that exactly like that. It's the proton-electron complex, because a proton is not a thing by itself. A proton will create an electron like that out of just raw space. You can't maintain a proton without an electron for very far. You know, they shoot these protons at ridiculous speeds to the purpose of moving it faster than the electron can respond, or space-time can respond, to create the electron around the proton again. So what I say is electron-proton complex. And why is because, what is a proton-electron complex? And I'm going to draw it like this, because I see it as, actually, a little funnel. There it goes. So there's the proton, and all of this is the electron interacting. Because the proton is a persistent sort of like thing at the core, but you can't really get to it. But these are sort of like, this is how, these are the arms, these are the voices, this is the agency. It's the electrons that interact. And you have an atom, a hydrogen atom. You stimulate a hydrogen atom. What will it do? It will, let's say you excite it. You push that electron out, but it doesn't want to lose that electron. So what does it do? It drops a photon. What's the symbol for photon again? No, it's not that one. Is it? Anyways, you drop a photon, and your electrons go back down to a more stable situation. You were excited. You exclaimed something, and now you feel better. You feel more calm because you released some energy. This is where I think this unit, the nucleon, but not just a nucleon, because you can't say a proton. A proton doesn't exist without an electron. There's always an electron to match. Otherwise, you have an ion, and that atom is hunting for something because it's unsatisfied. So this is the thing, right? The most stable state, homeostasis. It's the minimal thing that wants to maintain a persistent structure. And then everything that you can cluster from atoms is now conscious at different levels of its nature. A rock is not particularly conscious. I'd say that a rock is more like I don't know. You know, each atom probably doesn't feel that much outside of its close neighbors most of the time, you know, in just a general senses of things. But once you get into larger molecules and larger structures, then all of a sudden, once you have a complex again that can interact in a new way, let's say a chlorophyll atom. It gets hit by a photon. What does it do? Well, it doesn't just release a photon back. What it does is it turns that photon, as long as it's within a certain range, into an electron and tries to drop off that electron so that it will not be so highly excited anymore. And so this is my fairly concise at 10 minutes thoughts on consciousness, why consciousness, what's the minimal thing about consciousness, and okay, wait, so how do we project consciousness? Well, see, I think the thing about the tripping part and the way the mind works is that we have a whole body, and your whole body is your mind, essentially. It's the thing that created your mind. It's helped shape your mind, your body, your whole body, not just your brain. If you think it's just your brain, then nothing would hurt, right? Like your body cares that it was hurt. You have nerves all through your body. And going into a sensory deprivation tank totally messes with your sense of where your self is, because we are a body. We are a double homeostatic system, like a homeostatic system that has mechanisms for maintaining this homeostasis. And let's see. Sorry, I'm just riffing. I never work on these things. But I mean, your body. What is your body? Your body takes in things, but your body is like a unit, right? And that's why if you put it in a sensory depth tank, all of a sudden you're trapped in like way in here. You're not getting signals. You're used to this feedback mechanism where you sense things and then you respond to things, and then you sense things and then you respond to things, and it's like this constant like oscillation. But if you steal all these signals, then you're sitting inside your mind, and that's why it's like tripping, where you're inside yourself, and that's why it drives people crazy, because you can't get away from yourself no matter where you go. When you're tripping, you lose your distractions, and you have to just deal with yourself, just you, like you're staring at your reflection, which is why it's always very scary, and people warn you about staring at your reflection when you're stoned, because staring at your reflection will sort of coax you into that feedback. So when you're in sensory depth, you don't have these external signals, so now you're trapped in yourself. But then you start to realize or imagine, because our mind is not actually more like it's not a thing. I'd describe it more as it's the shape of the total electrostatic field of your body. And so you can beam EMs at it and mess with it. You can take chemicals and mess with it in various ways. You can stab it, and that will hurt it, and that will excite feedback systems and stuff like that. So this is the thing, like the body, our mind is the energy field of this thing, the totality of the energy field, which is why you can't think when you really need to pee, because it's not just your mind. Your body is really important. When you need to puke, you don't get to choose whether you're going to puke or not, really, do you? No, your body decides these things, okay? Your brain and your consciousness is a special part of the body, and I think its proximity to the eyes and the brain, like the clustering of nerves in the head, gives us this sense that the brain, because the brain doesn't do anything else except for process signaling. It is a signal processing hub, but the signals are coming and going from everywhere to everywhere. If you do meditation a lot, you start to get more of that sense, I think, of where you can lose yourself and project yourself. Now, whether we're actually projecting ourselves outward, or whether because it's energy, and because energy is light, and therefore the light is traveling at sea, which now puts you on the surface of time, whether we can use that, the fact that at the surface of time, everything is happening always everywhere. But the parts we're attached to are things that we know of and relate to. And so we hook onto those more easily, I think. And so you can travel around, possibly, in sort of this weird energy dimension. Inside your brain, your brain is just like, now maybe this is where those microtubules really come into point. Because we're not responding to external signals. When you go into sensory depth, DMT and other chemicals do things, but each of them has a specificity. There's that other mushroom that you can take that gives you like little tiny people. right? Famous Chinese mushroom, and everyone sees little tiny people. Well, if DMT is real, then these little tiny people are real too. Okay, so either it all is, or it's all part of weirdness that's happening in our minds through the chemistry, and the reality of it is the same way that reality of any dream or any other perception, because perceptions are not reality, there are filtering of reality, our constructions from our evidence that our body is giving us of reality, but we never know what real reality is, because we have little filters and stuff. We get a limited slice, but we make do with that because we can do pretty good with that. We've done pretty good with that. So okay, so now we're at the 15-minute mark, and I didn't really want to go that long. This is what the essential thing is, I think. Homeostasis. System that has homeostasis is required to have consciousness, because otherwise it doesn't know what it's sensing. How does it know that it's how does it have any response to a thing? It needs to have a response to thing. It can just play along, I guess, free space, but that's just so playing along that it's like a mechanistic thing. There's no agency, and this is the point here, where all of a sudden you have agency, where you're being affected, but you're responding in a not purely causal or a more complex manner to maintain this homeostasis. So this is why I think that consciousness and homeostasis are very closely linked, at least, and in my opinion that you need the one demands the other, the one creates the other, in a way. Yeah. So have a beautiful 4th of July. I know you can do it. You guys are going to have the most awesome country in another 5-10 years. Just kick out all those freaking insane corporatists and stuff. It's like really, squeeze time, humans. It's squeeze time. And yeah, we can do it. There's a great future ahead of green, solar, punk, perfect. Everyone having a victory garden as their yard, because it's just fun to walk out into your yard and grab your food, and you could grow it yourself, a lot of it. Okay, so all that kind of stuff, we're going to get back to that. We're going to drop this whole psycho part and just keep the good parts. Okay, love you all. Bye.